Alright guys, welcome back to part 16 of my Let's Build for Ruby and Rails Developer series. This is going to be taking a stab at getting the server-side logic for payments set up. I think we last left off just integrating the payment form, so it's a three-part step from step 1, the job details, to preview, and then to purchase. We've got Stripe integrated here. And it is mounted, so you can see this is actually like the Stripe iframe that gets embedded into an app when you use Stripe elements. For now, the job checkout functionality, I think we're going to leave as standard one-time payment fee. A lot of job boards they don't assume, but they kind of advertise that it's almost one-time payment, but in reality, they're going to charge you month to month as long as your job listing is live. I don't know if I agree with that, but that might be something I enhance later on. So for now, since this is an MVP, I just want to get that initial charge down and worry about like a subscription side to this later. I might just have subscriptions on the customer side of this app as opposed to the person posting a job, where you can get access to like more details about individual developers and whatnot who are on the platform. So without further ado and without talking way too much, I want to dive in just to get going here, just so we get some sense of what needs to be accomplished. And the Stripe form component is my main, I guess you could say, logic where this is all going to take place via Ajax. We're going to essentially post to our server on the Rails side. On the controller, I'm going to initialize a Stripe intent, which is a new way Stripe is doing more secure payment authentication, I think. So in some instances, there needs to be an authorization involved when you create a payment, and that will like essentially show a interface if that's the case in the app, and you'd have to make sure the intent is valid and all that jargon and stuff. But the way I'm going to do it's pretty simple. It's kind of confusing at first, but essentially we're generating a price or an intent on the server. It's returning a secret key, and then on the front end we're taking that secret key, and then during the charge it's going to go ahead and authorize the charge to make sure it is indeed secure from Stripe's end. So it's a new way of doing it. It kind of starts on the server first, where it renders back the intent when you land on the initial form. And then we'll, during checkout, handle the card payment with this method here. So what I want to first do is set up an intent in our controller and get that taken care of. So I'm going to just use the jobs controller and make a new action. It's not RESTful or anything, but I think this is okay to add. And we'll add a new route for it. Maybe I'll just add it at the end here. Def intents, just for Stripe intents purposes. So what I'll end up doing is having like an intent amount, and I plan to add like upsells to the job checkout form, so maybe the price fluctuates depending on what options you set, like maybe like giving you the ability to display a logo or highlight your post, your job posting, etc. For now, I'll leave that out just so it's a little clearer of what we're doing, but I do want to set some constants in our model. Just to make sure it's in one place. So back in the job model, I'll do that. We're going to have some pricing that I'll just put maybe at the top here after the scopes. And constants are just a way to declare, values that you want to use throughout the app within one space, and then use them through Ruby, and just kind of make use of them that way. What I like to do is just for constants, we use like a pricing hash, make an object there, and then within that maybe we'll just have a base price for now, but eventually you could have something like good, better, great, kind of like a car wash, so let's go with base for now. I think I set it at 199 earlier when I first started this app. I'm not sure I'm going to stick with that, but we'll see. Instead of setting it maybe here though, you can say base job price, and I'll just set those as individual constants. So base job. So if we ever need to change pricing, we could do so just right here and just set it to that. Cool. So that gives us a constant to look into from our controller. It's kind of basically so you're not setting that value in multiple places is the kind of reason I'm doing that. More of a convention than a real strong reason to do that. So to access that, we can go to job and then pricing. And from that, we could say base. I believe that's right. Pricing. Oh, I made it all caps, so maybe I'll do that. So that should give us the price. If you want to confirm that, you can open up your Rails console and do that. Maybe I'll do that real quick just to show you how to do that. Rails console. I might put this in a new window. There. All right, so if we do job, pricing should return a hash. Yeah, and then if you do base, we should get 199. Cool stuff. Ruby is great. Cool. Back in the app, let's go. We've set the intent amount. The Stripe API, I've done this before, so I'm basically just reviewing some notes. But if you want to read the docs, this is a way to set up an intent via Stripe's API. So you access the Stripe class, then there's a payment intent class. And then you just call create and then pass in some methods on it. So in this case, the amount, which would normally be dynamic. If you're doing subscriptions, you'd probably want to go about this a little bit different. But in our case, the intent amount will be the job base price for now. Eventually, I'll have like a case statement here where we, depending on what upsell you have, I'll return a specific intent for that specific charge. This just gives us that way to be able to do that securely. For my case, I'm going to do USD for currency, and then payment intent method types. You could declare more here. I'm just going to use card though. I think you could do like Apple Pay or whatever. Not that. Maybe it's something else. Bank transfer, something like that. And then I just want to return JSON, this intent. So we'll say respond to do format. We could, I mean, it's just, I don't need to do that. I could just say return, or is it render? I'll just do it this way, whatever. We might need to return more than this at some point. And then format, JSON, render, JSON intent. There we go. Now you could literally just only have this line and that would be enough. Here's, you're allowed to do multiple formats here if you ever need to. I'm just adding that for brevity's sake. Okay. Now our routes are going to need an update since we just added an action to our controller. So I'm going to go and do that real quick. And let's open routes. Oops. Very little routing, as you can see. Let's see, what else do I need? It would be just a post. I'm going to just do one kind of like this. So post intents. 2. All right. And we're going to just, via JavaScript, pretty much view, we'll do that post. And that's going to happen basically when the form, the whole app initializes. So we're just going to create this initial amount as the form mounts in the view app. So let's do that now. This will essentially add that routing. We've got this intents path now. It's going to be just a create path, so there's no, like a post path, I should say. So there's nothing really else to worry about since we're going to be handling that with JavaScript. So we've got our main job form here is where I'm going to probably do this. We've got a mounted method, and on that I'll probably just do a new promise. So return I don't really think I need a promise here. I'm going to just do Axios dot post. Eventually we'll need to change this, I think. So I'm kind of throwing myself under the bridge here. I'm just trying to make sure my notes are matching up. So intents, we'll post to that. Method. Actually, we're doing post, so maybe I'll just do post intents. And I think I set a default on our view app for yeah, we're setting the CSRF token dynamically. We probably need to do a default for what kind of form content we want to send through. I'll just do it manually, I think. Let's just do it this way. So in Axios, then you can pass an object. And be more declarative. So URL will be this. We'll do method post headers. I want to set it a certain type. This will be more practical in the future because I want to add those upsells like I was talking about. I'm going to just say application JSON content type. And we're going to, Rails prefers a different type of encoding for your forms. So this is the one. It's kind of a weird one. And form URL encoded. Okay. That'll be basically it for that. And then we could just do the promise side of it. So then just want to get the response back. Catch will be if there's an error. So error. Let's do a log. So this should happen as the form. Basically, you visit a new job form. So let's go back to the root path. I should mention I'm on part 16 branch on Git. So if you are not and you're following along, you might want to do that. Okay, so we've got an error. It looks like Axios is not defined. That would be definitely necessary to import. So let's do that. So import. Okay. Let's refresh, see what happens. Cannot find model Axios. I guess I don't have it yet. So let's add that. Yarn add Axios. I've been in between projects, so I feel like it's in every project I've been using, so who knows. Refresh. I'm gonna run dev server. I don't have it running. Webpack dev server. Okay, so we're getting a 402 now, which I don't believe is right. Come on. Request failed. Tense, unpossible entity, invalid authenticity token. Okay, why would that be? Okay, let's see. Go back to job form. We should be getting this. I'm kind of concerned why that's not working. All right, I want to set some defaults here. So then we can remove this bit. want to set what we have here, I think. Axios defaults. And I need to import this here. For some reason, it's not catching it in this. I'm not entirely sure why. So let's see if that changes anything. Default, I can't spell. I guess set isn't a function, so post. Okay, that's a step in the right direction at least. So if we just do render JSON intent, for some reason that's not working. There we go. We get something back. Payment intent, the client secret is what we're after. So that ended up working in this case. So that's great. Cool. So that's pretty much all we need. We need to set that payment intent when we hit up the form on initial load. It's going to generate a new key each time. So if we refresh the page, there should be a new one. It's just kind of the way that works to make it a little more secure. So the goal here in this case is to set up that key to then mount to our components. When we go to checkout, we'll use that key to go ahead and figure it all out. So trying to think how I should do this. Should I set it in the store? I think I will. So the store, I will set up this.store. Let's go find that. Let's outside of the form, the card name, we can put what did I call it before? Payment intent client secret. We'll just set it to null for now. And when the form first mounts, that's what I'll do. I'll just say payment intent client secret equals response.data. What was it? Client secret. Client secret. Okay. So that gives us access to it once we hit the final stage of the checkout flow. So now if I mount, I just refresh the page. If I go to the root, we should have that key now on our instance of the store. So the data that we're piping through for our main store is now propagated. Actually, it looks like I already had that. Let's see. Now, why is that? Oh, I know why. It should be form. So let's refresh. There we go. That makes more sense. Cool. So that's step one, I would say. We can then have that in our arsenal to go back to our checkout and basically start setting up that handle payment method. So let's call that, which will be a new method. We can just I might put this in actions, to be honest. I want to see for sure if that's the best route. I think I have details of the card here, so maybe I'll just leave it here actually. So let's just do a handle payment. And this will be, I'm going to need an instance of this further down the chain. So we'll just say self equals this. So I have it the top order. Then we need to call the Stripe API from the client side. And then there's a method called confirm card payment. And from that, we need to pass in that client secret. So this dot store dot what did I call it? Form dot I can't remember that name now. Payment intent client secret. Okay. Where was I? Close that. I can close that now. Okay, so there's that. And then outside of the secret, we can pass in a little more details. Payment method will be another object. We're going to use the card and then this dot card or self dot card in this case. Billing address or billing details and are going to be, we just want to pass the name of the card user. So self dot job. Self dot, is it on? Okay, so it is in the store, so we could do that. Let's try this through this. I'm just curious if I need self at all. Go back. So we're in this object store.form.job. Oh, it's in form. Okay. So form, I keep going to this file. This file is where we're at. Would be card name. Okay. And trailing commas there. Then we'll have a then and result. I'm going to just put a, result. If result dot error just do it very mundane real quick. Else if result dot payment intent dot status succeeded. I think that's spelled right. We'll do some stuff. So like handle purchase, which basically means go create the job on the back end and do everything there. Cool. So let's save this down and first see if we're getting any errors when we create this. So what I'll do is try to check out, continue, next, full name. So I should reiterate, on this button, we're clicking handle submit. So it's a view action. We're preventing the default on the button because we don't want the form to actually submit like a real form. Then we'll handle pass the event through. We're checking first if the card is present, of course, and then if Stripe is present. And if not, we'll return. Just basically just doesn't work. And then otherwise, we're going to handle the card payment, which is this method here, which we just wrote. So let's go in. First, let's do a log here just to say it worked. I refreshed, so I got to do that again. So Andy. Okay, if we hit this, it worked. So obviously we need to update the UI and do some fanciness there, but it looks like it worked. If we go back to this Stripe, I actually logged in here on viewing test data. I want to see if that came through. Assuming my internet loads. There it is. And we forgot to translate cents, our dollar amounts into cents. So that was only a $1.99 transaction, which is a terrible mistake to make. So let's go back to the job real quick. And $1.99 is essentially going to be, I mean, you could do times 100. So in cents, I think. I mean, you could just write it this way too. So what I'll do actually is keep that way. On the controller side, we're going to say intent amount and just do equals intent amount times 100. And there we reset it. So if we do that one more time, hopefully it comes through as $1.99. Go back. Randy Leverance. There we go. He's another guy. Pay. It worked. Let's check Stripe. There it is, $1.99. Righto. Definitely do the pricing stuff on the server. Don't set any pricing in your UI. It can be manipulated, so you don't want to deal with that. So that's why the intent comes back from the server first before we, do anything. The price is set this side, so the charge automatically comes back through. Okay, so we can confirm it worked. Now I want to handle like creating the job. So what I'll do in this case is go to our form. Maybe we could do like this dot actions dot handle purchase, and we'll just pass the result through just so we have some stuff to work with. I don't even know what that response looks like, but eventually I need to deal with error handling and stuff, which I'll do here. We'll display stuff to the user. So let's go to the handle purchase. And this one's going to be kind of a doozy because I want to send back basically all the form fields and stuff to the server so we can access everything and let's create a new job. So handle purchase. We're going to have that Stripe result come back through. I just want to call it Stripe so it's clear for me. We'll get into like invalidation and stuff, but for now, let's just assume it's all valid. So I'm going to set a form data constant, and we're going to just create a new form data API call there. That's part of a browser. You can use that stuff. And then we'll say const job equals this dot store. Actually, we don't need this. We should just say store dot job object. So store dot job just gives us a little shortcut for writing store. And then we're going to append everything to a fictitious form. So essentially creating a form with JavaScript in this case. This is very repetitive and it could probably be done in a more dynamic way. I just like being very explicit here so I can see exactly what's going through. You're up to you what you want to do with on that regard. So we've got all these fields basically to accommodate. So let's deal with that. So we're going to append company, start with company. I'll just honestly paste this stuff. Ooh, okay, so form data dot append company name and it will be job.company name. Yep, okay. And basically repeats the process, so annoying, yes, but the logo is going to be a little weird. We can do it the same way though, so form, we'll say if there is a logo, we'll append it. Because there could be a chance you don't have one. And keep on going. So if you want to fast forward, have at it. So one thing I'm doing wrong here is on the Ruby side, it's expecting fields like this. And I'm currently using JavaScript in camel case there. So we actually want to do underscore case because in the database, this needs to match up. And these fields are going to be permitted. So I'm going to go back through real quick and fix that. When we first added the table, I added those fields in this fashion. So it's the, I think, underscore snake case, I think is that what it's called. So we'll map that way. Let's see. Remote. I'm gonna do a new method for this one called handle boolean. Like we'll do yeah, actions.handle boolean. We can call actions inside of actions just to call another method, and then we'll pass in job.remote. And yes, because it's true basically. It will be that, and then we'll go back down. I think I need to get the title. Let me get the other fields real quick. Years of experience. And eventually will be upsell type. I'll do that, but comment it out. Okay, so for remote, we just have the one Boolean, so that's nice. We don't have to deal with too much stuff there. We need the email, of course, though. So let's put that first. That's like the most important thing, to be honest. Okay. I think that's all of them. Price will add, it's going to be the server side, so it's all good there. So let's do another action, handle Boolean. And that'll be basically just the input value. If input equals value, basically if it equals yes, that one we pass through return true, else return false. This could be trimmed down, but I like explicitness, so I'm not some JavaScript whiz either. All right, So this will just essentially turn true or false when we call it with these two inputs. Hopefully that's clear. Okay, so now we've got the form data. Now we can actually do, we need to probably include Axios here. Yeah. And I did set this stuff here. We probably need to set it everywhere. And I'll enhance that at some point. But for now, we're going to call it in both places. And I need the helpers from here. Okay. Right on. So let's go and handle this purchase. And we'll hook in Axios. I'm just going to do the same orientation there. So URL is going to go to jobs. And it's going to be posts, so it'll hit that create action. So we'll say method post. Data is going to be the form data variable we just created, which is basically a form submission. And we've already set the way this is going to respond up here. It's going to expect this content type. So that's going to come back through as like the URL encoded form data, which is what Rails is kind of expecting for a typical Rails form submission. Since this is JavaScript, that needs to be actually explicitly set because normally Rails just does that by default. So response. Okay, we can then basically add a notice at this point. I'll do that eventually. I think the main thing I want to do is just check the response first. And catch. Let's call this error. Okay. So let's try once more. I've got this, it's like a fictitious Rails engineer job. This is some dummy data I've put in for Rails devs especially. So it's just a not real one, but different name here. Let's try this once more. If this goes, if it goes through, well, we didn't get it. So in flight, be sure to disable your form submit, confirm payment. Interesting. I mean, I guess I could just call submit when I click this. What could we do? I guess just call this stats disabled true. So we'll do that, and then this should just be disable here, and then we can go just do something like that. I don't know. It's saying that doesn't work, which is kind of a joke. Oh, because it's false. All right, John Doe. Okay, so we did make it through to the thingamajig. So that's good at least. Email is not defined. JavaScript errors are the worst. Like, here's a shit ton of stuff that makes no difference to me. All right, so handle purpose. Where are we at? We're on our store. Do I not have an email, or is it called something else? Maybe it's called company email. Ah, it is. No? I also spotted that I'm doing the name update wrong on this one. It's going to the main form instead of the index here, so we can just get rid of this one. I'll just put it here. I think we'll see what happens. All right. Got our price, we got our name. Email is there. It's really weird. Okay, so we've got this issue where it's expecting a job parameter. I remember getting this before, I think. So there's a few ways we could go around this. Basically, build the form data object to include the job, or bypass the requirement of the job here. So we could just say permit, and it should work. So let's try that again. This is the lazy man's way. Pay. There we go. Data comes back, which is going to be the HTML content after the create. We're getting the response in the controller. It just rendered HTML. We could render that as JSON or not render anything. It doesn't really matter. We could just probably just do this instead. Nice. And this is all with the expectation that the current user is signed in. So you could make this to where we create a user on the fly, but I think I'm going to bypass that and just require you to sign up. It kind of saves some logic on my end, to be honest. It'd be way easier. But I believe that's pretty close. We could do something like job.save and set a user, like a notice. Could be maybe I want to send some content through. Yeah, let's do that. So in JSON, we can just render let's see. I want to pass like a redirect URL. I'll just do it this way. We'll go back to like the job URL itself. And then we can pass some fancy notice. I'd like to have these jobs, basically each job gets reviewed manually before it's actually published. So let's do that. We could just say job.errors here if it doesn't work. Notice we could say, let's see, if it's a new record, yeah, let's do that. I'll just do it inline. There we go. That could be way better, but let's leave it for now. Okay. So we'll try that once more, make sure the JSON returns. Let's go back to this. Looks like I have an error. I think I need an additional hash here. Yep. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to change the title on this, like, so we have a couple. Next. Now the response I want to come back is going to be a redirect URL. That didn't work. Unknown format. Okay, we don't need that, I don't think. Just make this pretty dumb. Remove the respond to. There we go. All right, let's see if that fixes it. I don't really know. There we go. Status okay. Data, thanks for posting. There's the URL. So cool. We could just say if on the window, let's say if status, we'll just say equals like 200. We could say other stuff too, like status text okay. We'll just say 100, 200. We can then go to window, location equals response dot data dot redirect URL. Notice. I mean, we could display a notice in the browser somewhere. I'll eventually do that. That's kind of more of a luxurious thing to have at the moment. Yeah. Let's just want to put a little like note. Response.data.notice. And this would be okay. Let's see if that redirect now occurs. Maybe I'll do, I don't know, Ruby on Rails engineer. Joey Doe. I don't know. 4242. Okay, pay. Success. We should go to a new page. But nothing happened there. Maybe because of that. Oh, you know why? I am dumb. Okay, let's continue. Joey Doe 42. So what's weird is that Stripe charge probably went through, but the There we go. It goes back to there. So cool. Now, since this is pending review, we'd probably want to add a scope to this job when it's first created that's like pending. So maybe we do that on the create, like after create method here. We can do that on the model, to be honest. So just by default, let's do a after create set pending review. Then we can make a method. I don't know why I'm doing it here, but set pending review. Then we could say status equals job statuses pending. Yeah. Is that in this model? Yeah. So I know there's like enum stuff we could do with these statuses that isn't so this way. It gives you some nice built-in methods and stuff you can use too. I might shift to that at some point, just as an exercise, but right now I'm gonna just keep this going. So yeah, I might put self here for the hell of it. So after create, basically when we create a job, they're gonna set the status to pending by default. Then we could just maybe go into the view just to verify that. So on jobs, on show, we'll just add something that says if it's pending. Where are we at? Job status. Actually, I made a method, so I could just say just pending. That method is right where we were, if you recall, right here. And then okay, so this one won't be, I don't believe, actually it is. Let me double check. You know why it is? Because in the database, we have it set. Okay, so I don't even need what I just did. That's sweet. I forgot I did that, so that's cool. So now every job is going to be pending by default. We've got that taken care of. Cool. Now obviously if it's pending, we probably won't want anyone to display it. And we're not even actually displaying all the jobs. Oh, we're already doing this. Okay, so I'm like a step ahead of myself. So on the views, all the jobs are going to be based on the scopes. So jobs, index, published. So we've already set that. If we just do all, we should see all of ours that we just created. But we don't need those. We just want the published ones. So there they go. So cool. That pretty much works. There's tons to improve in terms of the UI. Like after I submit this form, I want to present maybe an overlay so you can like disable everything so you can't even make a change unless you just literally kill your browser. We'll do that coming up, but for now we've basically handled the payment side of this. It's just a single charge. Everything should be ending up in Stripe at this point. If we refresh, should be quite a few here actually. Give it a sec. And boom, there they all are. So cool. Now there's a lot of stuff to deal with in terms of validations here on the front end. Like when you start mixing client and server and different constructs, you have to start thinking of validating, okay, is this field supplied is this one. Of course, then this button shouldn't be even clickable. Maybe it shouldn't even be present. The same is true for fields over in this area. Like if they missed one, we don't want to allow them to progress to the next step. So some of these required fields in that case, like the email for sure, the company description, I don't think we need to require, but definitely a description, an apply link, the title, and then these other details are definitely helpful. I don't know if they're required, but I'm going to probably require them just because that's going to make the lives of the job seeker more valuable, you know. So with that, I think we're ready to roll. I haven't verified that the logo is like saving for sure, so I'll need to figure that part out. If we go back to the job that was just created, we've got stuff for it. It's undefined here. We probably want to map that to nil like this instead of undefined. That's one thing I need to change, but other than that, I think we're good to go. So we can set the price, of course, too. Maybe I'll do that real quick just so we have it scoped. That was in our store. The price will fluctuate depending on what we do with upsells, but that's going to be what I'm going to charge initially, I think. And then the upsell, it's going to be some UI that just basically when I click a button on the form, it's going to go back and regenerate a new payment intent secret. And each time that's done, we can reset the price on the server as opposed to doing it on the front end, because you don't want to do that on the front end. So like I said, there'll be like a case statement coming up where I do that here. So I think the next part I'll add those upsells and we'll go from there. We're getting very close to the end of this form. Luckily, I know it's been a doozy, but I think it's been a good experience so far. So I'm excited to see this get going, get live, and then we can start working on like the community side of this app, as well as just kind of having a place for profiles and stuff for other developers. So excited to be doing that next. I'll see you in the next part. Peace.